Minecraft's pillagers live in giant secluded mansions in the middle of the woods with a strange hatred for villagers and even the player, but how did they get there? Well, by analyzing secret hints and lore that have been put into the game, we can piece together the dark story of Minecraft's pillagers. All the way back years ago, before there were any mansions, outposts, pillagers, or even evokers, every villager lived in peace among each other. Just like we see them today, the villagers went to their usual 9-to-5 jobs, then went home to sleep and repeat. But in one particular village, there was a cleric named Dr. Vogue who didn't follow the usual norm. Instead of going home like everyone else, he would keep grinding in his laboratory. Instead of doing the same exact thing every day and settling for it, he would try new things and innovate. Everyone thought he was insane for that, and one day, before he was about to have a breakthrough discovery, his village president Hank would confront him about his practices.
Hey, Dr. Vogue, you've gone off the rails recently, bucko. Stop the experiments or get out of this village.
What? Why? I'm about to have a breakthrough. It could be huge for the village.
I don't care. We don't try new things in this village, and we never will. Have you ever heard of what happened to our ancestors?
What ancestors? Like the monkeys?
Nah, that's too far. Centuries ago, there existed people like us, but instead looked a lot different. They used their hands for building and fighting, but most importantly, they behaved different from us. They were always discovering new places and building new things that one day they got too ambitious and created something that accidentally murdered all of them.
What did they create?
Nobody remembers exactly. Some say it was a portal, some say it was a mob. But fortunately, a few did survive and created these villages where we've learned from our ancestors' mistakes to not try new things or we'll repeat what they did, which is what I'm afraid you'll end up doing. You got till tomorrow morning to decide. I'll see you later.
Dr. Vogue couldn't believe it. All of his genius work was about to be thrown in the gutter, even though he was confident it wouldn't ever hurt anybody. He already had his grindset made up though, and later that night he packed up his lab while everyone was asleep and left, heading to where no villager had ever gone before, the snowy tundra. Without iron golems to defend himself against the mobs of the night, he needed some sort of shelter, so he went ahead and built himself a small cozy igloo that he could hunker down in for the time being. He was still worried that Hank would come looking for him once he found he left, so he built a decoy home where he could sleep on the surface, but underground was where the real magic happened, and I ain't talking about breeding. In this bunker, he stored his cleric brewing stand and would carry out whatever experiments he wanted, all in secret. And for the following months, the experiments he did conduct were pretty tame, similar to the ones back in the village. But just as his skin turned gray from the lack of vitamin D in that cellar, his hatred for the villagers grew as well, and his morals left him. Along with this, one of his big experiments required a test subject, so on one dark night, he sneakily took a trip back to the village while everyone was sleeping and kidnapped one of his old boys, Ronnie the farmer.
No, please. Not the IRS. I swear I pay my taxes. Hey, wake up. Hey, man. Who the heck are you? I'm a fat nuts. And if you say another word, I'll send you to the gallows. Oh, God. Okay, fat nuts. Please, man, I don't want to die. I'll do whatever you say.
What Ronnie didn't know was that the fate waiting for him back at the igloo was far worse than being killed.
Get in the cell, you lap rat. What the? Don't ever call me that again. It hurt my soul. You want to know why I picked you in particular as my first test subject, Ronnie? It's because of those damn beetroots. Hey man, those beetroot soups is amazing.
Dr. Vogue stopped listening to Ronnie's pleas for help and went to go grab some lapis lazuli he had left over from his trades back in the village, made a special potion brew, and walked over to Ronnie.
Hey, quit it! What the? Ow, what the heck is that, man? What the hell? Oh my God, stop it! Hello, sir. Do your nuts need shaving?
The experiments went perfectly. After injecting the lapis and its magical enchanting properties into Ronnie's brain, it turned him into a mind-controlled pillager that would take all of his orders without question. This was just the beginning though. Dr. Vogue would continue this process of secretly kidnapping villagers and bringing them back to the lab to turn them into either a pillager or a vindicator to slowly build his army up. The only problem was that the environments wasn't too pristine or ideal, which led to some experiments to go wrong, actually killing the villager involved, turning them into a zombie. So Dr. Vogue took all of his army and headed someplace a little bit warmer, but still just as discreet as the snowy tundra, the dark oak forest. Instead of living the minimalistic lives they once had in the village, they went ahead and built huge luxurious mansions and started living in peace with the mobs they once feared. They even made giant pillager head replicas inside with a single lapis block replacing the brain to memorialize Dr. Vogue's breakthrough discovery. But by far the most important and disturbing addition to the mansion was Dr. Volk's altar room. This was where he would now conduct the transition of captured villagers into mind-controlled pillagers, but it would also be the place for new tests and experiments. Similar to Ronnie, the first test subject, Benny, who is a village blacksmith, was kidnapped and about to be tested on by one of Dr. Volk's new methods.
Benny, I know you're being put to this against your will, but just know you'll be making pillager history today. What did you just say about my mom?
Dr. Volk recited a ritual and threw a new potion onto Benny, turning him into a never-before-seen mob, the Ravager. Everything about it, the facial features, the sounds it made, all resembled exactly that of a villager, but 100 times stronger. Now with this absolute monster of a creation, Dr. Volk finally decided to prepare revenge on the village by ransacking it and capturing Hank as well as the rest of his citizens. The first order of business was to make a game plan with a huge map they built for the raid. Yes, Naruto runners from the left and Skull Troopers from the right. Next, they went ahead and built giant outposts nearby the village, storing weapons, tents used as housing, and most importantly, cages for the iron golems to make the job even easier. Everything was perfect. It was now time for the attack.
What the heck? Our population is down 67% since last sleep. What's the deal? And what the hell? Who keeps making these obsidian monoliths? Oh, they must be from the new update. Oh, wait a second. 1.69.2 hasn't come out yet. Everybody run!
The villagers charged into the village with one goal in mind: capture as many villagers as possible. Without the knowledge of using weapons to defend themselves and the lack of iron golems, the villagers were no match for the never-before-seen enemy they were fighting.
Oh god, this is just like the Alamo all over again.
Hey Hank,
What?
You have nowhere to run, and you have no other choice other to come with me.
Dr. Volk, you sick man, you're the one behind all of this? Well, I'll have you know you'll never catch me alive. What the hell?
With Hank and the other living villagers locked inside the cold prisons built in the mansion, the old village was left to rot away into an abandoned village, with some of the killed citizens turned into zombies. While locked inside the prison, Hank realized how far gone and dangerous Dr. Volk had become. There was what seemed like automatic farms, rooms to house riches, and even a room replicating an end portal the ancient builders constructed. It was literally everything he feared. He had to stop him before history repeated itself.
Hey pal, come on out, tough guy, come follow me.
Who, me? Where am I going?
Fight Club.
Ronnie brought Hank over to the mansion room with a built-in fighting ring inside of it. This is where villagers are forced to throw it down, all for the pillagers' entertainment.
As you know, it's a Tuesday afternoon, and that means Fight Club! Okay, today we have the president of the village, Hank, in the ring, and going up against him, we're starting off with an ex-librarian, Howard the Pillager!
Hank thought back to his 315-pound bench press and the weights he used to lift back in the 80s. He was confident he had this in the bag. The bell rang and Hank started throwing punches while dodging all of the arrows shot at him. And maybe it was the lapis injection in the brain, but Howard's reaction time just wasn't there.
I'm sorry I gotta do this to you, Howard. You're like a brother to me, but you're not the Howard I once knew.
Ooh, that was some alpha male material. Let's see if he has that luck against ex-blacksmith Benny the Ravager.
Oh, holy crap. Oh, come on, baby, come on.
The bell rang again. This time it was Hank up against a 500-pound animal beast, but Hank was also 500 pounds of pure muscle. This fight was a lot more intense. Hank knew his life was on the line and he was fighting with every last breath. He powered through though and was able to outsmart the beast by spamming the old smack and step back method.
What the hell? How is he winning? Wait, he's supposed to die. What do we put him against now? Me. I'd like to handle this one personally.
Everyone went silent. Dr. Volk stepped out of the corner with a menacing look on his face. He decided if you want a job done, you gotta do it yourself.
Dr. Volk, you were once a great cleric, but look at all of this. Human experiments, recreating portals, fight clubs, you're gonna kill us all like our ancestors did.
Nonsense. I'm doing all of this for the greater good. Mankind needs to progress. This is capitalism, Hank.
Alright, you asked for it.
Holy mother of...
The bell bell rang. This time around, Hank wasn't able to predict his opponent's moves as well. Giant claws coming out of the ground and small ghosts attacking him. He realized how smart of a scientist Dr. Vogt actually was.
You're putting up a much better fight than I anticipated, Hank. But just realize there is no winning outcome for you here.
We'll see about that, scumbag.
Hank unleashed everything he had on his enemy, throwing haymakers left and right, pushing him out of the ring, taking every hit like it was nothing to him. Then finally, on half a heart, Hank unloaded his last possible punch.
No!
That one was for Benny.
Without their leader to give orders, the rest of the pillagers sat around scared and confused, wondering if they should try finishing off the job or stay away for their own greater good. Hank paid them no mind though and walked out like he owned the place, wandering off into the plains looking for a new place to call home. While it seems like the villagers won this battle, the war was only just beginning. The breakthrough Dr. Vogt was about to have all the way back in the village was a totem that could defy life and death, and he just finished it before battling Hank. With the pillagers' leader still alive, they would continue going from village to village, raiding and killing for vengeance instead of capturing, as well as sending out convoy groups to scout out and attack anyone that associates with the villagers. Which leaves us with you, the player, who must defend the village and its people at all costs from the pillagers.
Wait, what are you doing?